Healing, the medicine that we all need. It forces us to address our emotions, target our pain, to identify where came the seed that planted things that lies within. God wants to heal you. He wants to work on you if you just let him in. Welcome to Healing Every Soul podcast. Let's journey together, let's thrive, and let's heal. Hey family, welcome to another episode of Healing Every Soul podcast. It's your host, Saved with Sauce, and I am so excited about today's episode. As you guys see, if you're watching on YouTube, that I have very, very, very special guests, dear and near to my heart, here present today. And so I want to take a moment to introduce my guest, and it is none other than my mother and father. I'm so excited to have you guys on here. And so, yes, welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. And we are excited to be here, and it's an honor. Thank you.
Yes, glad to be here.
Y'all, I don't know how to feel in this moment. I have my parents on here in the space. I'm like full of a mixture of emotions, but I think I'm gonna take a moment to just dive right into today's conversation for the month of November, and just even for this new series that God had laid on my heart for the podcast. I decided to begin to talk about the fruit of the spirit, and really dive into what that looks like, walking that out on a daily basis. Because, a lot of times we read the word of God and we read different principles. But for some people, if you have not had an example mirrored before you on how certain values look, or core concepts looks, for some people, it's hard trying to figure it out as they go on. And so I brought my parents on today. The Lord had laid it on my heart to bring you guys on, because one of the fruit that I started to talk about is kindness this month. And when I had started to look into kindness, I seen that, for one, it doesn't just consist of how, it's not just benevolence towards others, but it also consists of forgiveness. It also consists of giving. It also consists of like being forgiving and merciful, even when people are undeserving. And when I consider you guys, first of all, let me just say, on a trip that we were on just a few weeks ago, there was so much that I was gleaning just from watching you guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
I feel like at this juncture of my life, as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, it's one thing when your parents instill certain things in you when you're a kid or when you're growing up. But as a woman, as someone now who has a family of her own, developing, and growing with the family of my own, I feel like watching you guys and hearing from you guys, it hits different at this point.
Thank you.
And so,
thank you. And I enjoyed myself on that trip too.
Absolutely.
There was something special about that trip, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking before I just dive right into the topic that we'll be talking about and all of things. Why don't you guys share with yourselves like who you are? Let's start there.
All right. Listen.
I know I share y'all are my parents, but like you guys could share it too with the audience. For some people that don't know you guys, share with them.
Well, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Nazama. Julie, the parent of Alana, and it's wonderful. But anyway, who am I? A servant of the Lord, but I just like to help and show love, make someone else happy, show them, how life can be peaceful and not chaotic. It's not meant for us to be in chaos,
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we was here. That's not what we're here for, living in chaos and all this craziness, but to show love and kindness, to pass it on to others, that someone else will be able to live and be happy, and show them what freedom is about.
Yeah.
Listen, Dexter. A little nervous, but who am I? met Julie when I was young in my age, when I started working for Con Edison, and I met her. It was 1990. I was young and came across Julie. She was working in the credit union. I would have never thought that I would have been with her all these years. You know, it started off as a date, but I was always, she was a beautiful young woman, had a nice little jerry curl, you know, and I seen her, and we started off in a conversation. I got a little loan from the credit union, so it kind of boosted up my confidence, and I asked her for a date. And here we are 35 years later with a beautiful family, and I'm blessed, and that's who Dexter is right now.
Wow. And I'm so glad that you guys have shared too, from like just hearing what you guys shared, because I feel like both of what y'all shared is kind of like it's the two different sides that I want to talk about. I want to talk about that loving and giving towards others and all of those different things. And then I also want to touch on the aspect of like the importance of family and the importance of just like things that we show forth and family and marriage and all of those different things, so that this conversation brings about healing for somebody who may not know that, like how to show forth kindness towards those who even are not deserving of it, and how to show forth love and forgiveness and compassion and familial relationships. And so I'm glad you guys touched on that. So good to hear that. So I'm going to start off, I guess the question that I'm going to start off with asking you guys is, because when I think about the way that we grew up, our home was always a revolving door. It was always a place where people could come to. If you're watching this episode, if you know, you know. Like, my parents' home was always a revolving door to not just, it was to friends, to family. If people came to our home and sat at that kitchen table, I'm talking about the walls of our kitchen held people's secrets. It held people, I'm talking about people's tears, and just even sometimes when people would find themselves in hard seasons, like having to talk, it's like, my parents was like the world's mom pops, because I was talking to somebody I went to college with, like this was probably last year or a few years back, and they said to me one time, like, your father was the first image of a father figure or a man that I seen, and how they take care of their family. And so I think it's just like, I wanted to first start off with talking about compassion, and why was that something that was like important within our house? Why was that something like being kind, giving to others? I've seen you guys pack up food and give to the neighbors. I've seen you pack up food, bring it to work. Like, I remember when mom was working for transit, and it was the holidays, and it was a homeless man that always stayed like in her right near her booth, and she's like, oh, let me bring some gloves and some this, that, and the third, like. And so I've always seen you guys be people that modeled benevolence, people that modeled kindness, people that modeled compassion. And that's one of the fruit of the spirit. And I feel like, that's something that you guys, like, that's a fruit that I know that is so ever so present. And so why is that something that's like important? Why is that of value to you both?
I think I got my boy. Go ahead, Julie. You say yours?
Okay, you see
No,
this?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, I would say it's a value because it's good to share it that someone else can get it, even if they didn't get it in their home. It doesn't matter where you get it from, but as long as you get it to carry on to your future and to help you and growth and let you allow you to get a different look at other situations, other ways to think about doing things, and that there is more, and you don't have to just be stuck where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, the 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 revolving door. I got to give a lot with Julie, because I was coming. We got together, and my family was we was different. But when I got her, it was something about she used to always be cooking and always doing stuff, and I used to be like, "Why are you doing that?" She said, "Oh, Dex, she was taking food," and I was more closed in, but. I guess the longer that I stayed with her and the longer I understood because she used to love to feed people. She used to be taking food to the job. She used to be my food at times too. She would cook and take
Might I
credit.
add?
Yeah, may I add that part? She would. I would cook something. I said, "What you doing?" She said, and I said, "But I cooked that," and she would take it, and that was something that I looked at her and the more that I was with her, I seen. And as far as the kids and the friends and everybody, I was growing up in the house, and we had a rule in the house, and that was even when she wasn't there. We sat down and we ate at the table. We never went. It was you're eating in your room or your no. We always sat down as a family and we ate at the table. I remember Lonnie. She remember even when we had landlines, that phone would ring and we never answered it, and it was something that it was we instilled in the house. When it's family time, it's family time. We're going to sit down. We're going to eat together. We're going to talk at that table. Well, it's tears, whatever we say, but it was an open forum, and then it just poured out into the friends and the family in the neighborhood. So that was something that it came about, and I gotta say. That was starting off with Julie and everything, as far as that, because like I said, my family was different. We was closed in, my father and everything, but the loving part and the kindness, it kind of grew in with her as that. That's why they call her Mama Jewel. So with that.
Absolutely. And I'm grateful for that, because to be honest, I feel like that's something that that's in our foundation, that like in and I said this recently, how sometimes I don't think we really pay attention to the fact that like childhood is such a small portion of a person's life, right? You're a child for not a long time, and you spend the rest of your life as an adult, but childhood has such a strong impact on people and how they navigate as adults. And so first off, I just want to say thank you for that, because although it has been, our home was like a revolving door for everybody else, I think that compassion and that kindness and those, sitting at the table and actually taking the time to talk, that has created such a foundation, I think, in all of us. And I guess for my, because Pops had mentioned how like he got that from you, and so I guess like I want to start there. Like, how was that something I was just like, because you really do have like the heart to help others and the heart to just kind of like just extend yourself in such a way, and so like where did that come from? Like, where did
It's actually it's a generational thing. From my parents, my aunt that raised my mom, and I think, well, I know it's more of um the love of Christ, and that teach you how to love outside of love, and not only that, from you and your sisters, even your brother, you guys will bring your friends around, and we would extend, well, before y'all friends, it was the nieces and nephews. So it was good. And everybody enjoyed one another. Even though I say, if you're bad, I beat kids, But you can't say that now.
Oh my gosh, if you say that now, Lord knows. In this day and age.
But it was good, and you guys would tell your friends, to come over, and we would have dinner, and they would sit down and eat with us, or go to the movies with us. Like, did you tell them you're going to the movies with your parents? And, and you're like, yeah. I said, and they still want to go. So it was good just having the extended, to be able to extend the love, and it doesn't cost anything to feed someone. But
and best believe also, let me say this, if you was coming to stay at my house, my mom, she probably ain't gonna say this part on the podcast, but if you came to stay at our house and you came on a weekend, you was going to church on Sunday, okay? I'm talking about, my mom did not care. She would be like, oh, well, whoever is around your size, if you don't have no church clothes, because at this time it wasn't like how things are today, where you could just dress down. You had to govern yourself accordingly in church attire. And so I will never forget. One of my cousins was over. She's like, "Well, you better see which one of your cousins whose clothes you could put on." My cousin was in a skirt and or church pants and ACG boots. Like, it didn't matter. Like, if you came over, you was getting a good meal. You was getting that compassion. You were getting kindness, all the things, but you was going to church on Sunday for sure. And so I think just even that, like having that's just, oh man, like it was a great foundation to have. Great foundation to have. So job well done, guys. Job well done.
But you know, it was also, it was good also, knowing where the youth was at.
Lift the mics up.
You know, it was good knowing where the youth was at. They wasn't in the street, and they was somewhere solid. You know, getting proper treatment and love and nourishment. So I think was very important. You know, as far as, you know, being outdoors and you don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll be honest with you is, you know, I just with everybody just coming over and just being at the house, it was a proud thing because me and Julie, we always took the pride of helping out somebody, and it was the good thing. What I loved. She, to be honest, I was in a different. She would do spiritually, and I would just be me. And there was plenty of nights that I came downstairs, and those girls would be sitting there, and I'll go upstairs and say, "Julie, they downstairs, they crying and all kind of stuff." And she would come down like a mother, and she would say, you know, what she has to say in the church way, and you know, just try to encourage them. And then it had times that, as a parent, I would come down, I'd just be brutally honest, like, "Listen, you got so much going for you in my own way." I think we fed off each other with that's what made it beautiful. She would give it their way, I would give it my way, and we always did it as a team. You know, I would tell her like, "Yo, you know, this person is going through this. You need to speak to them." And I after a while, I just enjoyed helping out. I'll be honest with you. I enjoyed being that father figure and everything, and trying to help somebody out. And even up to this day, I still enjoy it because if we could help somebody, you know, I feel good. I think our job, not even my job, but I think our job is to, before we leave here, have an impact on somebody's life. That's, you know,
And y'all
that's what I
have.
want to be. I want to have an impact on somebody's life and say, man, you know what? They was great, man. They was great people, friends, parents, everything. You know, they fed us.
Absolutely.
So that's you
And
know.
I truly believe a support team is very important. You know, because thank God, you know, we supported one another. You know, feeding and gleaning off of each other, and then the kids, they just follow pursuit. You know, so you all guys all follow right in, and that's what becomes effective, because if you don't have a source to go to, you know, for that help, then, you know, it makes the struggle, the assignment, harder. But if you have someone to go to that you can talk to, and like, to give you a solid foundation advice, you know, that's a great help.
Absolutely.
I want to say, what in life, what I did, I took a piece of my father's ways, and I really want to give Julie's my father, still my father, and my mother, Brody Etheridge and Betty Etheridge, because I met Julie at a young age, and like I said, I took a part of my father. My father was he was great, but he was in a strict way. So I only knew how to be one way, you know. But then when I met Julie and I met her family and her father and mother, they was a different way. So I took a piece of my father's ways and their ways, and we always had a rule that, you know, certain stuff, like my father, if anything went on, we kept it. We never did stuff in front of the kids. Like, we had a conversation, we'll pull ourselves to the side, you know, let's talk about it. And kids, you know how kids are. Sometimes they will come to Julie and be like, "Hey, could I do this or whatever?" If your mother said no, don't come to me and ask me.
Yeah.
So we, you know, with certain stuff that we both we did with each other, and as a family, and to build up the household, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that like you highlighted how you pulled strengths from, like, you know, like not just your parents, but even coming into marriage, like pulling strengths even from what you've seen her parents emulate. I love that. One thing that I would say though, and I'm not sure if this stemmed from like parents or, where this came from. I just know that one thing that I've seen you guys model, and I think a lot of times as it pertains to like families and just even towards others, right? I think a area that people often struggle in is forgiveness. And I think when it comes down to familial relationships, sometimes because of things that has happened, people can harbor unforgiveness, right? Like sometimes people are holding on to things that happened from childhood, holding on to things that has happened, that like it was not conversations that like certain conversations that were not had. And sometimes people harbor things in their heart. And again, speaking about the fruit of kindness and talking about, how kindness consists of benevolence. Another aspect of kindness is showing forgiveness to others and being merciful to people even when they don't deserve it. And I want to talk more about that to you guys because if I could be honest, for one, forgiveness was something that was like, that was a rule in our house. Like, I'm talking about, we couldn't stay, if me and my siblings got into an argument with each other, we had to forgive quickly. Like, my father would be like, I know you're not walking around this house not talking to your sister. I know you're not about to sit down at this table and you're not going to speak to your
We
sister.
not.
Like my sisters could tell you at some point one of us got in trouble for thinking that we was about to not walk around the house not talking to each other. And so that was something that was like you had to forgive quickly. And then also as parents, I'm not going to say that we were all always so perfect, like we had some ways about us, we had some mistakes, we had some like just ways where all of us, none of us was always this perfect child. And so, but I've seen you guys always show forth compassion, and show forth being merciful even when we may not have been deserving of it, right? And so, and I think that that's the way that we ought to be. And so I want to ask, like, what makes forgiveness why was forgiveness so important?
You couldn't harbor. I think if you don't forgive, it could really linger. It really could linger on, and it really, people don't know, but it could really linger. With myself, I had to learn something. I had to say, like, even a close friend, I poured into somebody one time. I poured into them a lot, and at a young stage, and it was funny because it was a friend. And when you love on friends and people, and you pour a lot in. And what it was, I never forget it. I was going in a different direction in life, but I was loving on them. And Julie was like, Dex, things ain't the same. But of course, when you care for somebody, I was like, you don't know you. That's my friend and this and that. And I couldn't see. I couldn't see, the situation. And what happened was, of course we went on with our lives and everything. But the good thing about it, I have to say with Julie, she didn't throw it in my face. She said, I was trying to tell you something, about that. And but I still couldn't forgive. But what happened is I was speaking one day to somebody and they was like, what happened to you and such and such? And I was like, and they was like, Dex, you don't do nothing to nobody, man. You're a good person. So maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it wasn't you. It was them. And for some reason, that little word, it just changed me. Like, you know what? I'm gonna forgive. I'm gonna go on. I think if I'm a good person or Julie's a good person and we didn't do nothing to him, life is gonna go on. We're just gonna forgive. Maybe you gotta look into yourself or whatever. But that's how I just seen things with forgiveness.
Um, with forgiveness, um, if you don't forgive, then you're being judgmental. Because sometimes when things take place, you don't know where that thing came from. It could be something that happened to them, what's going on in their life now. You know, so and besides, I look at how God forgives us, over and over and over. So it doesn't matter how many times, and you want to do that to everyone else for for peace, for
Mm-hmm.
healing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that freedom. Because, unforgiveness causes things to happen, and it taints the heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to say one thing with Lonnie. Sorry, Lonnie said earlier, when you guys wasn't allowed to walk around the house, and that was a part of forgiveness. Like I looked at it because when I used to look at it, I used to say to myself, you never know if tomorrow is guaranteed. You never know what's in tomorrow. So that's why me and Julie always say, like you say, you get the 1 day grace period. You don't. I'm not gonna let you not speak to your sister. You don't know if your sister gonna walk out the door and something happens or something happens, and then you won't be able to forgive
Yeah.
and say, oh man, something happened or something happened to my brother or this and that. So that's why with that's another thing of forgiveness. I never understood like how you could look at and somebody say, well, I'm not talking to my sibling, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not this. You never know. And you don't want to be standing, God forbid, of standing over and then say, man, I didn't get the chance to say sorry or, and
Yeah.
get that off their heart. So that's another thing with forgiveness.
Yeah. Life is tomorrow's not promised,
Right.
and so, yeah, just not harboring like those feelings,
Right.
those negative feelings. If it takes talking it out, if it takes hashing it out, if it takes any of those things, like just making sure you're not harboring those feelings.
Yeah.
And not even outside of the home, even as working for MTA, and on a job, you meeting different customers each day, and if the trains go out and stuff, they don't know another route to get to work. Sometime they could be on a disciplinary for lateness, and they could be on the edge of losing their job, and they come to you and they scream and they yell and whatever. You don't yell back at them. You just talk to them about, you can do this, and you just break it down to them and explain to them, and they, it's like a weight lifted.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes the bus go the same route as the train, and they never knew that.
Mm-hmm. Um,
So it's good to be able to express other ways for them to handle different things. And that's another way of showing kindness, explaining, talking it out, communication.
Yeah, and sometimes like that could be an area where some people may struggle, and I want to say too, because like we could speak from the place of our experience and like just values that were in place, but I want to like just even speak to the person that may be struggling to forgive a relative, and I think it's different. Like I pointed to, I started to allude to, hey, like in our house growing up, you couldn't harbor feelings or emotions, and like, but for some people, that's not something that was of value that's in the home. And so for some people, they may struggle with forgiveness. And so I want to just have some sensitivity towards a person that may be struggling with having forgiveness or towards familial relationships or even friendships or just having a hard time with forgiving others. I want to say first, like, start at the place of giving it to God, because forgiveness is for you, right? Like forgiveness, I know my mom, she had mentioned how harboring unforgiveness is like how just the impact it could have and like how it's not healthy. And so forgiveness, it's freeing for you. Pops had mentioned that something along those lines too, like a weight lifted when he was like, you know what, I am a good person, I'm gonna just forgive this person. Like sometimes you just kind of like gotta do an introspection and say, hey, like I've been carrying this thing. And sometimes we carry things, and you carry certain pains or certain experiences, and you carry that in your heart, and as a result it builds up like bitterness, or it builds up certain things. And so I just want to talk to that person and say, hey, give it to God, because forgiveness is for you and freedom is for you. And so just start at the place of giving it to God. And even if the person never apologizes or you never hear I'm sorry, just know that that freedom, that weight lifted, that forgiveness is for you, so that you could be at a place of peace. And so I just want to say that. But also, I want to ask you guys if you have any advice or any words that you could share to give to someone who may be struggling with forgiveness, where it's like, this is something that's hard. what would you say to that person? And if you don't have any, then that's fine too. But what would you say to the person that's struggling to forgive? Because you was like, if you don't forgive, that's being judgmental. Because you was like, if you don't forgive, that's being judgmental, because you never know. And it's like, that's true. We really don't know. Like, somebody might have, sometimes trauma has like a ripple effect, right? And so, but what would you say to the person?
I'm leaving it to Julie because, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'll be
That's
honest, I
right.
had a problem. I had a problem with forgiveness, and that's why I want to see what she's going to say because I had a problem with forgiveness, and I used to be like, Julie, I don't care. Man, listen, and she used to be like, D, come on, you can't be like that, and I used to be like, nah, I was because, I tell you why I had the the household I came from. Let me just back up. The household I came from. My father was so stern and so set in the way. So my father, of course, I knew he loved my mother, and he was stern. So all I knew from his ways was stern way. Bills paid, this and that. He's stern, but he the sternness, So, and I didn't know how to forgive. I just seen harshness, I never seen my father kiss my mother. I never seen him hugging this and that. So, of course, now I'm in a relationship, but I seen that from. That's why I give so much love and respect for Betty and Brody Etheridge because of the love part came from that. So, of course, now when I'm not forgiving and I say, Julie, I'm not forgiving because I'm so hard, I'm this, I want to be there. And she's, D, you can't be like that. You got to forgive. But
It was something that came over time,
it
like
came over
something that you
time.
learned over
It
time.
came over. It came over time. I didn't know how to. A lot of stuff I didn't know that was her forte. The forgiving part, and I want to see what she's going to say when she to answer this. But I give her credit for a lot of forgiveness because I would still see her do things. I had a soft spot for because I don't think she does anything wrong to anybody. So that's another thing. If you did something to her, I'm more mad. So she, that's my wife, man. You doing her wrong. Now I'm really mad. And she, Dex, it's not your fight, but yeah, it's my fight because you're my heart. So if you're mad, I'm mad. But she would. I used to be like, how she do it, man? And then I say, you know what? So I want to see how you're going to answer this. Forgive, like how do you do it, Julie? How did you do it? I want to see how you do
He
it.
said, "How do you do it, Julie?"
How you do it? Because you always been like that.
It's so easy to love. No, I think love takes less energy than holding things in. Being at odds with people and being at odds, that just takes too much energy. No, because, yeah, you got to, oh, no, I'm going to stay mad at this person. I'm going to do this and whatever. You thinking about that, you only entertaining doubleness. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, but it takes more energy to hold on to things than to let it go.
Okay,
Let
fair.
go and let God.
Amen.
That's what it is. Give it to God. Leave it there. Drop it. Don't pick it back up. Let him work everything else out. Because we only mess things up.
I think that's what, not to interrupt, I think that's what makes a beautiful relationship. And I think that's what really balanced us out in life. I always said that I was one way, she's a one. And I think that's what really, I think I really balanced us out in relationship because a lot of times she pulled me in and it balanced out the relationship. I think if you're married, I think it's always one has to balance it out. Listen, something or whatever. If your wife tells you something, don't take it away. Like something, it's the balance out. And even if I tell her something, like Jules, this and that, it's just to balance us out. So, it's a beautiful. When you do that, it really helps you out, even with the forgiveness part. So,
And not only that, we can't pick our family, but we could only strengthen and grow together. Strengthen one another. You can't. I mean, you could cut off for a little while, whatever you want to do or whatever, but they're still gonna be your family.
Yeah,
You can't take that away.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you guys kind of like you mentioned. I think Pops, you started to talk about just like in marriage is even like the balance. And I wanna kind of go there because, within the society that we live in today, it's so much that, listen, there's so much that I could say about like what society may portray as it pertains to like marriage, as it pertains to like just even with yeah, I'm a stick with marriage because I know we spoke a lot about family, and so I guess the question that I want to kind of like the question that I want to kind of, as we're looking to close, the question that I want to ask you guys is, now some of the values that we spoke about, forgiveness and compassion and all of the different things. Like, I'm sure there are people who are listening to this. Maybe it's somebody who's listening who's single and desires family. Maybe it's somebody listening who's married. Maybe it's somebody listening who's at the start of marriage, who's just a few years in. And so I want to ask you guys, like, how do we have those characteristics? Like, how do we mirror those in a marital relationship, like forgiveness, compassion, kindness? I feel like that conversation as it pertains to marriage, that's y'all area. You guys, what, 30 plus years together, you have a strong foundation. It's so many Jews that y'all have dropped relationally. And so how do you show forth compassion? You know, how do you show for forgiveness? Pops, you spoke about like just even being able to pull from, like, because you had mentioned too about how you grew up in a household and your background was different and you saw sternness and the hardness, but like coming into marriage, seeing from her parents the way that they love and learning from her. And so like for you, like how was it to kind of like, I don't know, like open up your heart to, like, I don't know. It's like a number of questions. I feel like I got so many, but I don't know. Yeah, I could
you
just.
know what? I'm glad when I to say that knew my father, like I said, love, but I didn't know how to. I don't know. Didn't know how to love. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know how to love. I'm paying the bills, the lights. The lights is on. Everything is fine. I'm not. I didn't know about up to even holding hands and embracing, because my father and my mother, they was like brother and sister. I never seen them embrace. It's not till I met Julie. And I was still young, but I met her and I seen the other side. How Pops, Brody and Betty, and how they moved and the embracement and the hanging and this up even up to the end when Mother B or where they were still driving around together and doing this. And it's funny now, people say like, y'all remind us of what they were, but this was something I had to grow. And Julie I used to be like, well, what are you upset for? Why are you're upset? The lights is on, and she would, but I didn't know how to love. She was coming from a loving family, and I was coming from a tight family. And she said, you don't do this, you don't do that. It came with time.
Okay.
It did come with time, and it's a process. But I did take this matter to say this: no matter what, my father's side and my mother's side, those two couples, they never threw in the towel. My father was with my mother for his whole life until my mother transitioned, and then Pops was with they. It's not like the new generation. You know what? I'm throwing it in. I'm turning my back, and that's what I admired about both of them. That's why I took both of them. I don't care what you're gonna go through in life, but they stuck it out to the end, and built on that. And I always say this with Julie: we never let nobody from the outside infiltrate the relationship or what we had. No matter what we went through, we're not going to let nothing from the outside impact the marriage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not even nothing. No family, no friend, no nothing. And we say this even with the kids. We used to say, me and Julie say, they're going to get older. It's me. It's they're going to get older. They're going to meet. They're going to marry. They're going to this and that. At the end of the day, who it's going to be me and you.
Y'all would be like, when the smoke clears, me and you.
No, but no, what do you say? It was a saying that we always make a joke, and we always say, it's us against
them.
you know, we built. I'll leave it like
I didn't know that one.
No, yeah, but we
It's
said it.
us against
Yeah,
them.
it's a joke, but we never let nothing on the outside of no one, you know, infiltrate our relationship or whatever. Go ahead, Jules. Say
No one come in the midst besides God. You know, He's always in the midst of it. But your parents showed love, but they just had a different way. Love is shown in very different ways, and it may not be the same way someone else show it. So it's love is definitely shown in different areas. I enjoyed. I got a lot of time while he was outside, and I would be on the phone just talking to them. They feeding into me, you know, they side, just talking and general whatever. So one thing it is good to talk things out. You know, pick up the phone, call a loved one. Just to say hello. Because now there's the modern thing. Now there's texting. Text is not the same thing as hearing what someone say, because a text will be read and it will be read, but it may not be the same way how that person is delivering it. So you read a text, you're going to take into how your emotion is, how you're feeling. So communication definitely is the key, and have an open heart, and a listener. Yeah. Not just listen with your ears, but listen with your heart too. And sometimes people listen with their mouths as well. But but open up your heart. Love is the key.
Yeah.
Love is the key. Yeah. It brings healthiness,
Yeah.
nurturing. Just like a baby. Everybody want to be cuddled.
So even relationships needs nurturing.
Yeah.
Marriage needs nurturing. Those, relationships in our lives, those even need nurturing. And
yeah, these a lot of relationships think the more money you spend, and the more money you spend on a date and this and that, that brings value. No, it's time spent. It could be McDonald's, it could be an ice cream parlor. I remember we went to an ice cream parlor. Remember Cold Stone. I think that we didn't even plan it, but it was a nice day. I enjoyed myself that day. But yeah. And this is like 15, 20 years later into the relationship. But it was a nice day.
I think not only that is what you do could impact your household.
Oh yeah.
I think it could impact your household. So that's why, like I said earlier, if me and Julian, listen, nothing is perfect, but if me and her we would never want, you never let your kids see what you're going through, because of course the kids love their parents. Then if they do it, they're upset. So we took so much traits from our family, and we always said this: no matter what we do, like even if she agreed in something, I disagreed, I will pull her aside and say, Jules, you know why you did that, man? And she say this and that, okay, but we would not let the kids see or this and that. I think a lot of families and a lot of things I see now is just, we just got away from it, the family value, and I stand on the family value, as far as that. What you do, it could impact a child. It could be something simple. You could call a child out of their name, and trust me, 18 years, they'll be 18 years old and be like, I remember when. It's what you do and how you do it and how you represent as a parent. And then if you do that, and then the kids see that, and then it trickles down, how to handle people and how to deal with people. Sometimes you look and be like, look at this kid over there jumping all over the place. The parent ain't saying nothing. What is going on? But certain stuff you're like, we got away from a lot of stuff. And I think with me and Julia, I always say this. I think I just want to be an example for everybody. I had a friend tell me one time. He said, "Man, you and Julie, y'all are like the example for everything. God forbid if anything or whatever. You are the for us. You make us want to do better.
Yeah.
So I want to be like that for everybody. I don't want to be selfish no more. I want to help anybody any way I can, and me and her be an example. So
Yeah, and doing it just to do it, not looking for something in return. You know. Yeah. All right. What you say there? But no, food does something. Especially when it's good food. No, I'm serious. Food relaxes.
Food is a love language. It brings people together.
Yeah, come on now. You bring some food. No, listen.
It's the way to people's heart.
Yeah.
Through their stomach.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm serious. The breaking the bread together is serious. Like when you said we had a great time in Rome and everything, right? That trip was awesome. And I was telling you that the other day. I said, you know what? One of the things that I loved was that we got to eat dinner together every day.
Yeah, we did.
That was beautiful.
I miss everybody eating dinner together every day and this that. So I miss those days.
Yeah.
I mean, we still do it, but and we go out to each other's house and the family house. That's
Yeah.
keeping the family together.
They say food is a beautiful thing, and I was maybe in my 20s, and Julie made a fried porgy and cheese grits. I never looked back. I was with her ever since. If she's know what she's talking about, food or whatever, I didn't know.
He said she made a fried porgy and cheese.
I didn't know
grits,
nothing about it.
Since.
I never knew about that. I was coming from the, West
Caribbean
Indian side,
household.
Caribbean household. I didn't know what a porgy was, so she made a porgy and cheese grits. The
rest was history.
The rest was history. I never turned back, and that was 35 years ago. So she knows what she's saying when she's saying the food. But go ahead, La. Go ahead.
Oh man, I think that's it. You guys shared a lot. You guys were just honest, transparent, and conversation, and so I think and we had some good laughs, some good pointers, and so I think I don't really have any more questions, but my hope is for the person who was watching this, if there's anything that you take away from this is, again, this series, for the series that I'm talking about for the next couple of months is just talking about how do we show forth the fruit of the Spirit in our day-to-day life as people who, followers of Christ, as a person who may desire to follow Christ, and you're like trying to figure out, well, how do these biblical principles, these things that I come across, the fruit of the Spirit, how do I implement this in my everyday life? And so this conversation, I love the direction that it went, because I wanted it to be just that, like, how do we apply certain things that we read on a day to day? And we had like rooted in like just the biblical perspective of like, hey, like you're supposed to show love, you're supposed to forgive, but then also the realistic perspective where Pops, you were sharing like, look, like the background that I came up in, it made it, I wasn't taught how to love, or like I came from sternness, I didn't see this, I didn't see that. And so like I feel like, and you being honest and vulnerable to say I had to grow, like, and like, even what you saying, like some of it, the growth came from watching Ma. I think that's so real, because like it just speaks to how even in our, like the roles that we have, even in our households and in our families, and like how certain things that we model, how it trickles down, because that, the way that she was and the way that you seen her parents be, that impacted you in such a way. And it's like, it's made you an even greater man, And so like, I love how this conversation went. And I pray that for those who are watching, if there's anything that you take away from this conversation, I hope it brings some perspective just on like being kind towards others and the impact that it has, because I'm talking about seeing them be kind and show forth compassion. It didn't just impact us in their immediate family or their children, but I'm talking about we've seen relatives come over, cousins, friends, you know, like I said from the jump, like our house was a revolving door. And it's like that kindness and that compassion has left an impact on people's lives, and not just, you know, younger folks, but even seeing how, like, what they show forth in their friendships and to neighbors and all of these things. And so if there's anything you take away from this, it's just knowing that kindness, it really does leave an impact. Showing forth compassion, it really does leave an impact. Being forgiving, it really does help to free you and to alleviate some things that you may have been carrying. And so if you're watching this, I pray that you know, the fruit of kindness is developed in you. I pray that God begins to deal with your heart if that's been an area that you've struggled in, and you've chose to, like, instead, like, respond and being like, whether it's like bitterness or mean, or I think Ma said this, Mother Lazama shared this, she said it exerts more energy to be
Yeah.
upset and to be angry and to be mean all the time. Like, it's more freeing to just
Yeah.
to just show love, like, because what you said is too exhausting to be upset all the time. So listen, hey, if there's
Beautiful.
anything that you take away, I pray that some of these gems that they dropped and just sharing about family and values, that it really resonate with you. And I don't know if there anything else you guys want to share with the people before we go.
Um, I want to share, you know, because you know, I was talking about your mother, and I just want to say, you know, something. And I remember recently when we was away, you know, we was in a European country, and of course the lady, I had sweatpants on, and I always, I'm afraid to lose my wallet, so I always give it to your mother, because she said, you know, you wear sweatpants, your wallet or whatever, but I asked for it, and excuse me, and the lady said, "Oh, it's something. She's the boss or something like that, right? You know." And you know, I'm looking at the lady, but your mother, she looked, and she shook her head like offended, and because in other words, like your mother said, like, you know, he's not the, like, we're a team. He's the head, the boss, and she's my wife, and we're together. You know, I was talking to Julie in the elevator about that how the father, the man, has been taken out of the household. Like, what is this new thing that you know? If you're a team, you're a team. But where's this? Don't you know? Where's this thing that the woman is the boy? So where if you have a true love and relationship, you don't have to say who's who, whose title. It's not really a title. We do stuff together, you know. But for her to, although I was offended, she was more offended because she was, in other words, that's my husband. He's here. We're here together as a team. Don't take that title away from him, and you know, as being who he is. He's the man, I'm the woman. We're together. We're gonna work things together, and I think that's a lot of stuff that's getting away also from, families. But I really wanted to say that because, like I said, we try to balance out each other in a marriage and a relationship, and I think that really makes a good relationship when your spouse could say, or anyone, or listen, I didn't this, or one of us, we both could say, oh, I need you to do this, not in a bad way, but to help us grow. You know, I even truly believe that even if you have a friend, a good friend, I don't want the friend that's always at the laughter and this and that. I want the friend to tell me, like, listen, man, get your correction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, listen, man, what you said yesterday, it wasn't cool, or it wasn't nice, or wasn't appropriate, or I think as that in a marriage, and then you leak that out as a friends, and have those type of friends, not the yes men friends, and no, people to help you grow in correction and stuff. So I just wanted to say that part.
Accountability, right?
Yeah, accountability. I think we
Yeah.
got away from that. Now all things is funny or jokes or whatever. I think if you say something that's not kind or not nice to somebody, I think whether it's correction,
Yeah.
and that will help grow. Grow. So, and that's why you somewhere along the line you gotta, sometimes you might have to cut you outgrow people and cut certain people and build yourself with a nice married couple or a nice good strong friend, but accountability and stuff like that. So I just
Absolutely.
I wanted to say that because she got more offended than I did, or whatever, and I never understood that. And I'm looking at, I don't know if it's a thing now that people are taking away the man from the household, but it's for a man and a woman to build a household and a relationship and set an example for other couples.
Yeah.
And even if you go outside of marriage, um, talking as a personal person individually, um, I would definitely say that there is no perfect person. So you should forgive because you want someone to forgive you. And it could be something that you have said or done that offended someone else. So, you know, um, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no better thing to be your own example of being a person that shows love, forgiveness, and all of that because you want someone to do the same thing to you.
Hello. And we forgive because Christ forgave us.
Amen.
Listen, I think about the scripture that says, I think the one thing that that's probably helped me in a season of my life, this was some years ago, but when I was struggling with forgiveness, one thing that's helped me, I was up reading one night and I stumbled across the scripture when it says, if we don't forgive, God don't forgive us. I was like, well, that's all I needed to read. I'm like, Lord, I know I'm not perfect. I don't dot every I. I don't cross every T, but I can't imagine God not forgiving me if I come short, if I fall short, or like I can't imagine God like, well, you still harboring feelings against so and so. Nope. So yeah, forgiveness, kindness, being merciful, showing love, all the things, y'all. It's an area that we all are striving to continue to show forth. And I pray that something from this episode resonates with you.
Yes, and the word says, "In loving kindness have I drawn thee." Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so kindness.
Yeah.
That's how he drew us to him.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to draw others to him from loving kindness.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys, Mr. and Mrs. Lazama, for being on the show today. Yeah, I appreciated having you guys. I appreciated the conversation. And I'm sure that something y'all said has resonated with the folks. And so thank you guys again.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. All right. All right, guys. So if you listen, if you are watching this, I hope that you go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave a comment, talk back, say something that's resonated with you. If you have, if you know, just something that's stuck with you, you've learned something, or any of the above, drop it in the comments, engage, and as I always say, let's journey together, let's thrive, and let's heal.